Welcome Dark Warriors, this is going to be my thoughts on Tales of Phantasia. I got a few requests to let's play this, but I hope a video in this sort of fashion is serviceable. I played Tales of Phantasia using a translation by Phantasian Productions, with some edits from Mizyab and Flamepurge, so if the names that I say in this video are different, then it's probably because we play different versions of the game. Also, big disclaimer, this video is intended for people who have already played Tales of Phantasia, so there will be spoilers. Now, I'm the kind of guy who likes to end off on a high note, so I'm going to mention things that I didn't like first, and then I'm going to get into things that I really liked about this game, okay? Because I did really enjoy this game, I loved it, so I'm just gonna get the negatives out of the way first. Okay, so my biggest issue with this game is a place called Treant. I don't know if it's called something else in other versions of the game. And oh my god, this place is one of the worst. Okay. This place is awful. I hate this place. I hate Treant Wood, Treant Forest. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I think the game forces you to go through it 3 times, but I might just be thinking that for my own sanity. It could have been like 7 or 8 times, and I'm only remembering 3 times because my memory suppressed the other 5 times. It is this giant, stupid maze that is impossible to remember the layout of. It's impossible to backtrack out of. It's impossible to find what you want in it. And Treant is a pretty big part of this game. There are a lot of important items in it, and it's mandatory to go through. And I hate using walkthroughs. I don't like using walkthroughs. I don't use walkthroughs. But every time I got to Treant, I got up my phone, I pulled up a map, and then I got through the forest using a map on the phone. Treant really defeated my patience because I usually never use walkthroughs in games, no matter how cryptic it is. But Treant made me use a walkthrough, so I don't like Treant. Besides that one area, I don't really have any major issues with this game. Besides that, I loved it pretty much. I will say there is a part where you have to farm items in a desert. That part sucks, but it's not as prominent and it's not as big of a part of the game. Oh, she just sneezed on me. Ew. Susie, you just sneezed on me. Ew. Yeah, there's this part where you have to farm items in a desert. That part is kind of tedious and unnecessary, but I didn't mind it too much because it was just so overshadowed by how bad the Treant Forest was, so I just didn't think it was as bad in comparison. The desert grind just kind of faded in the back of my mind, but the Treant Forest was always there in my head. So yeah, the Treant Forest was a lot worse. But then again, I think stuff like this is more stuff that is indicative of dated gaming design and not something that's really a fault of the game itself, if that makes sense. This game has giant mazes, grinding, and cryptic moments because it was made in the 90s, okay? When I'm playing an older game, I am very forgiving. I really am. There are very cryptic moments where you have to talk to the right NPC, or you have to go to some obscure place, but really, it's just, you know, it is what it is. I can forgive that because it's a mid-90s game, and, you know, they had to sell strategy guides, so I can forgive it because that's just how things were in the 90s. Things were cryptic in the 90s. And there is a lot of backtracking, but I heard that the backtracking is not as bad in the SNES version, and I'm playing the PSX version. So the cringy humor in this game, the somewhat generic characters, I don't mind any of that because it was made in the 90s. And for the 90s, I actually think this game has a pretty good story. I don't want to spill too many beans. I want to tell you guys a little secret. Can I tell you guys this? I might have cried during the final boss. No, really, I might have. I've heard this game's story be called generic, but I don't know. If I could get emotional during the final boss, then it can't be too generic, right? Now, the gameplay is pretty interesting. It's kind of like a turn-based RPG in real time. I don't know if the controls are different in other versions, but basically you just press the trigger buttons and then that lets out an attack, but the attacks are functioning like they do in turn-based RPGs, so the attacks stop the game, so you watch the little cutscene play out of the attack playing. Not every attack though, only magic and summons do that, but most attacks in this game are a magic or a summon attack, so for all intents and purposes, it is pretty much a real-time turn-based RPG. Because if your opponent gets out their attack before you do, their attack is going to interrupt your attack, and then you have to watch their attack go and hit all of your party members, and you got to think, ah, no, if only I pressed my button fast enough, ah. Or if only the damn magic speed was fast enough, no. That's also a pretty satisfying element to the combat. When you get your attacks out, your attacks will interrupt the enemy attacks, but their attacks can interrupt your attacks. So this game's combat purely focuses on you being faster and outsmarting your enemy. So if you're really good at timing your attacks, you can just let out a magic attack, and then you can let out an attack with Kless, and then you can let out a summon. So my strategy for most of the boss fights was to go in with Kless, and then stun lock the boss with Kless. And then, while I'm stun locking the boss fight with Kless, I use that stun lock time to charge up a magic attack with one of my other characters. And then, when my other character attacks with magic, I wait till their magic is done, and then I go in with Kless again, and then repeat the whole thing. So I use my time to stun lock the enemy to charge up magic, and there's like a rhythm to it, and it's like actually pretty satisfying. So yeah, this game's story, these characters are pretty generic, but these characters do have some good moments in this game. Archie was so cringy, oh my god. But Clarth F. Lester, I thought he was cool, actually. I like to call him Flester. Clarth is such a cool character because once you meet him, he kind of becomes the protagonist in a way. I mean, Kless is the protagonist, but once you meet Clarth, I mean Flester, Clarth, oh my god, I thought his name was literally Flester at first. Like, I called him Clarth, and I thought that was the joke name I gave him, and then I corrected myself by saying Flester. Whatever. Clarth, yeah, Clarth is such a cool character because he's like mature, wiser, he's older than the other characters by a little bit, by a few years, and he kind of takes over conversations whenever every character is involved in a conversation. So he's usually the one who's talking to important NPCs. And he really reminds me of Ronix from Star Ocean First Departure. And Ronix is my favorite character in Star Ocean First Departure, which is probably why I like Clarth so much, because he just reminded me so much of Ronix. Kless is pretty funny, he's the protagonist. He's your kind of generic hero kind of character, but he does have good character moments in this game. I really like the scene where he meets Mint. That is such a good scene. That is such a good moment for his character. Mint? She is in good scenes in this game. Because she's the main character, so... I mean, she's one of the main characters, so she's in every scene in this game. But... oh man, what do I have to say about Mint? Okay, Clarth is cool. Archie is very cringy, but she's kind of funny sometimes. She can kind of be amusing sometimes. And she's good in combat, and she has a really fun minigame. That's Archie. And Kless has some good moments. What the fuck do I have to say? What do I have to say about Mint? She has really good healing spells. I like the scene where she saves the tree. That's a good Mint scene. There we go. That's something I can say about Mint. I like the scene where she saves the tree. That's a good Mint scene. I'm sorry. I guess I just don't. I guess now that I think about it, I don't think she had much personality. Also, I actually really like her dialogue when talking to Dos. That's pretty good. I will say my biggest criticism about this game's story, and I don't know if it was due to the game being rushed or just it being a product of its time or what, but there is an unintentional fake out death, I think. Okay, this game kills off Chester, or at least I thought they killed off Chester. And I thought that was a great moment in the story. I thought it was a good emotional story beat. I was like, oh my god, Chester's gone. Oh my god, and we just got sent to the past. Oh no. And he's one of my favorite characters. I really like Chester, even if his bickering with Archie got kind of annoying. But there is a part where the team divides. So Mint, Kless, and Chester are going on their adventure, and then Kless and Mint get sent to the past, but Chester stays in the present. And I don't know if I'm dumb or what, but I thought Chester died. I thought that scene was Kless and Mint get sent to the past and they survive because of Chester's sacrifice. So Chester runs up to Dose to take the blow or whatever, and then Chester gets defeated, but Kless and Mint are able to narrowly escape. It's like a hero sacrifice kind of thing. And I thought that was a great emotional story beat in the game, especially for mid-90s standards, you know? Like 1995, that's pretty good. But he's actually not dead at all. And this is my biggest problem with this game's story. There is no reunion scene in this game. That's crazy. When Kless and Mint get sent back to the future, I feel like there should have been some big Chester, you're alive moment. But no, there wasn't any of that. Chester's just alive. And I was happy about that, but they should have made a bigger deal out of it. It made me feel stupid for thinking he was dead. But besides that, really, this game's story for 1995 standards, you know, I've heard people say it's generic, but for 1995, I don't think it is. I don't think it's that generic. And I said this earlier in the video, I think this is all unscripted, but the ending to this game is a really good ending. No, really, that whole final fight sequence, that is such a good emotional story beat in this game. That is such a good moment. This game has an amazing soundtrack. The song I Miss You kicking in when Dose starts begging the gods to give him more power to keep fighting, that is such a good moment. That is a really, really good moment. And I don't think I'm weird for getting teary-eyed at that moment. That is a really good moment. So yeah, my thoughts on Tales of Phantasia. Is it outdated? I don't like the word outdated. It was made in the 90s. Okay? Things are cryptic. Things are generic by today's standards. Things are a little grindy. Things are a little maze-like, you know, esoteric. All that stuff. But it's a good game. It's a really good game. I really enjoyed myself. I hope they re-release this game in an official English format. I heard that the Tales games are getting re-released on Steam in English, so that's great. I hope Tales of Phantasia gets re-released. Are there any changes I would make to this game in a modern Steam re-release? I would add it. So, I mean, I would make it so every soundtrack is available, in my opinion. I think it'd be cool to have the SNES soundtrack and the PS1 soundtrack both in the same game, so you can choose between soundtracks. I think that would be cool. I think they should add EXP multipliers. I think that'd be cool. So people who just want to experience the story can just, you know, go through the game on easy mode so they can just experience the story, which in my opinion is not that generic for 1995 standards at all, even though I've heard a lot of people say it is a generic story. The characters themselves might be a little generic, but they do have good chemistry. I would add a full world map. That would be cool. In the PSX version, there was no full map. there was only a little map in the corner that didn't really help much. It'd be cool if you could just like have a whole map of the whole area zoomed out. That'd be useful. Also, make cutscenes skippable and add fast travel to areas you've already been to. And you know what? This might be going a little bit too far in terms of changing the game mechanics, but I think they should probably add a way to copy items. So, I don't know, just add a chest somewhere that has like, oh, the duplicate wand or something, and then you can use the duplicate wand on certain items to duplicate those items or replicate them. I personally would enjoy that, because then you wouldn't have to sit through grinding in the desert. Instead, you can just duplicate the item you need. So that would be a little nice. And yeah, I've heard this game be called dated, but for 1995, 1996, this game at the time was not dated at all. I think it's aged pretty well. It's a very good game. And if you put yourself in the mindset of this is the 90s and this was once a new game in the 90s, then it's really, really good, and it has aged well, and there's a really cool twist at the end of this. So it is worth playing, and it's a shame that this game is only pretty much a Japan exclusive for now. I am very looking forward to if this game gets a new English, a new official English version, because the only English version we have over here where I live is the Game Boy version, and that version is like, I was thinking about it, I was gonna play it because it was the only official English version, but nah, the sound doesn't. This game's soundtrack is way too good to play the Game Boy version. I'm sorry. So, wouldn't that be funny if they added the Game Boy version soundtrack, so you can choose the SNES, the PSX, and the Game Boy soundtrack? Who would go for the Game Boy soundtrack? I don't know, I'm just dreaming here. I would like a new Steam re-release, please. I think it'd be cool. Give us a new Steam re-release. I want one. Doesn't even have to be on Steam. Put it on the Switch and all the other consoles. Every console, just give us Tales of Phantasia. I just played this game for the first time and I loved it, and I thought it was great. Is it outdated? Sure, but that's not a problem, because things being outdated isn't a bad thing. And yeah, I really enjoyed this game, and I hope this video sufficed, because a lot of people, not a lot of people, like a couple of people, like 5 or 6 people requested me to do a Let's Play of Tales of Phantasia, and I hope this is good enough. I hope a video explaining what I thought of Tales of Phantasia is fine in place of a full Let's Play. So thank you so much for watching, Dark Warriors. I am officially a Tales fan now. Expect more videos of me going over my thoughts on the later Tales games. And yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic. I like it. I'm a Tales of Phantasia defender. I like this game. Thanks so much for watching.